Part 98. Stoking the Flames of Tribal Ignorance. As the companions traveled back to Medina, two youths began to quarrel regarding a trivial matter, and it devolved into a fistfight. One of them said,
"Oh, Muhajirun, come and help me!"
The other in turn said,
"Oh, Ansar, help me!"
Two groups began to form and things began to escalate. Tempers flared and weapons were almost drawn. The Prophet heard the commotion and rushed out. He severely reprimanded them. "What is this call to pre-Islamic ignorance? Leave it, for it is rotten." The Prophet immediately and emphatically quashed the conflict, as it was fueled by tribalism. It was permissible to identify as a muhajir or ansari, but because these identities were being used for un-Islamic aims, it was rejected. The Prophet was even harsher on divisions based on tribe, ethnicity, or race. He said, "He is not one of us who calls to tribalism. He is not one of us who fights for the sake of tribalism. He is not one of us who dies following the way of tribalism." When Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul heard about the rift, he was pleased, but he was disappointed that it was quelled so soon. He was quick to stoke the fires of tribal ignorance, saying to his friends,
"They, that is the Muhajirun, have competed with us in both their quality and quantity. This is exactly like fattening your dog, only for it to come and eat you. By Allah, if we return to Medina, the honorable will expel the inferior. You, that is the Ansar, have brought this on yourselves. You have allowed them to come onto your land and have given them your wealth. If only you withheld all of this, they would have been forced to go back to their homes."
A young companion by the name of Zayd ibn Arqam was present, and he could not believe the kufr he heard being uttered so brazenly. Zayd rushed back to the Prophet and relayed exactly what he heard. The Prophet called Abdullah ibn Ubay and asked him directly if it were true. Abdullah ibn Ubay vehemently denied all claims, making oath after oath, swearing by his innocence. The Prophet accepted his claims, as he was still an outward Muslim swearing by Allah. Seeing right through his blatant lies, Umar turned to the Prophet and said,
"O Messenger of Allah, allow me to execute him."
The Prophet replied, "Leave him. I do not want the people to say, 'Muhammad kills his own companions.'" The Prophet then ordered everyone to pack their things and march straight for Medina. They marched without stopping for 20 straight hours. The Prophet wanted to exhaust them such that no one had any energy left for gossip. As planned, when they camped just outside Medina, they spent the whole day sleeping and recuperating. Zayd was deeply disheartened, as his testimony was effectively rejected and his honor was bruised. However, the next morning, Allah revealed the entirety of Surah Al-Munafiqun, the hypocrites.
When the hypocrites come to you, they say, "We bear witness that you are certainly the messenger of Allah, and surely Allah knows that you are his messenger, but Allah bears witness that the hypocrites are truly liars. They have made their false oaths as a shield, hindering others from the way of Allah. Evil indeed is what they do. This is because they believed and then abandoned faith. Therefore their hearts have been sealed, so they do not comprehend. When you see them, their appearance impresses you, and when they speak you listen to their speech. But they are just like worthless planks of wood leaned against a wall. They think every cry is against them. They are the enemy, so beware of them. May Allah condemn them. How can they be deluded from the truth? When it is said to them, 'Come, the messenger of Allah will pray for you to be forgiven,' they turn their heads in disgust, and you see them turn away in arrogance. It is the same whether you pray for their forgiveness or not. Allah will not forgive them. Surely Allah does not guide the rebellious people. They are the ones who say to one another, 'Do not spend anything on those emigrants with the messenger of Allah, so that they will break away.' But to Allah alone belong the treasuries of the heavens and the earth, yet the hypocrites do not comprehend. They say, 'If we return to Medina, the honorable will expel the inferior.' But all honor and power belongs to Allah, his messenger, and the believers, yet the hypocrites do not know. O believers, do not let your wealth or your children divert you from the remembrance of Allah, for whoever does so, it is they who are the true losers. And donate from what we have provided for you before death comes to one of you, and you cry, 'My Lord, if only you delayed me for a short while, I would give in charity and be one of the righteous.' but Allah never delays a soul when its appointed time comes, and Allah is all aware of what you do. Surah 63, verses 1 to 11.
Allah provided a thorough and precise refutation, quoting Abdullah ibn Ubay directly. The Prophet called Zayd ibn Arqam and held him by his ear, saying, Allah has confirmed that you have spoken the truth. Meanwhile, those in Medina heard about what occurred, and Abdullah ibn Ubay's son, who was a Muslim and was also called Abdullah, grew increasingly anxious. He approached the Prophet and said,
O Messenger of Allah, it has reached me that you are considering executing my father. If you command anyone to execute him, I do not know if I can bear to watch another man roaming the streets of Medina, knowing that he has killed my father, without wanting to exact revenge and kill him. And if I kill an innocent Muslim, I will go to the hellfire. So I think the only solution is for you to command me to execute him.
Abdullah's astonishing comments here are a product of a pious man grappling with his tribal upbringing and innate feelings towards his family. However, his piety and love for Allah and His Messenger overcame his embedded feelings of tribalism. The Prophet reassured him that his father would not be executed, replying, No, your duty is to be a good companion to him. Abdullah felt huge relief but was still angry at his father. As his father approached the border of Medina, he said,
You were the one who said, if we return to Medina, the honorable will expel the inferior. But by Allah, I will not allow you to enter Medina until the Prophet has granted you permission.
They then waited until the Prophet granted explicit permission for him to enter. Prior to this event, the Muslims had underestimated Abdullah ibn Ubay's true nature, assuming some goodness, as is expected of a believer. But this event exposed him and the hypocrites and the true extent of their evil. The revealing of Surah al-Munafiqun led many of Abdullah ibn Ubay's companions to leave him and disassociate from the hypocrites. The Prophet later remarked to Umar ibn al-Hattab, What do you think, O Umar, if I executed Abdullah ibn Ubay the day you requested it? Indeed, I would have turned away many people. But if I asked those same people to kill Abdullah ibn Ubay today, they would do it. Umar simply replied,
By Allah, I know that the opinion of the Messenger of Allah is always more blessed than mine.